It's like, is turkey anyone's favorite? Not really, but isn't it nice to do the same thing every year? At least just once? I think so. This is a very peaceful Thanksgiving. This year, I'm doing less. And that's what happens when you tell people not to come. For stuffing bread, I don't cube, I tear. It's hard. It's hard to do every year. No. I added too much milk. Oh. Zoinks, what was that?
Who did it?
Hello, everybody. This year, Thanksgiving, I'm doing a little less, but I'm also doing more. I'm doing more service for you. I'm doing less for me in hosting. I just don't have it in me this year, and I uninvited several people. I said, smaller numbers, fewer guests, let's pare down, but like, let's also do everything ahead. I started thinking about Thanksgivings past and like what causes me the most stress. And it's not the cooking. It's not the number of dishes I make. It's not the complexity of the dishes that I make. It is truly just like making sure that I am still cooking and getting all the food on the table at the right amount of time when the people arrive. And like hosting and taking care of them and like making sure they have a drink. And maybe that's just like something that comes with age. And I'm almost 40 and now people stress me out. So in keeping in the spirit of cooking authentically to me and like what is exciting to me in the moment and like what my body is craving, the foods are largely soft and beige. They are creamy, they are warm, they are soft and beige. I don't know, is this turtleneck working? Now I don't know.
All right. Is the turtleneck working? I say it is. I think you look gorgeous.
I feel like no matter what I wear these days, I'm like saying something, you know? I want to say less and I want to just be.
So I think just be.
Yeah.
And accept it.
I think when it comes to like the day of cooking, whether it's like your day before, day before, day before, I find it really helpful to just write your menu down. So you kind of like can remind yourself of what you're making. Doing this on like an old-fashioned pen and paper is really sweet. I always, whenever I'm writing a Thanksgiving menu, I start with the turkey. This year I'm gonna rub it with a dry brine of like cracked pepper and fennel seed, and I'm gonna roast it on a sheet pan because I still do not own a roasting pan. The gravy that I'm gonna do is a make-ahead gravy, meaning I'm making like the base of the gravy the day before, and then I'm going to augment it with all the pan drippings from the turkey. We're gonna make a sour cream and chive potato, Yukon Gold mash, no ricer, no masher, wooden spoon only, buttermilk, and a lot of chives and a lot of sour cream. Oh, and we're gonna make them ahead. Surprise, you're welcome.
Are you gonna parboil the potatoes? Just curious.
You're gonna have to wait and see.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so we are obviously gonna make a stuffing. Another question I get year after year is, how do I add meat to this? I don't think you need to, but I will also show you how to add meat to your stuffing. So we will do one stuffing 2 ways. This year we're also gonna make a green bean casserole. The word casserole for the first time in my life kind of sound pretty good. I like green bean casserole. I always have. I just like mine a little less intense, a little less rich, a little less creamy than the traditional variety. So that to me is like your 4 core tenets of, I'd say like classic Thanksgiving foods. I really wanted to make a macaroni and cheese work. I wanted to make it work so bad. I was like, you know what? Maybe I do think macaroni and cheese belongs on your Thanksgiving plate. I don't know. People love it. It's not for me. I tried it. It just didn't work. I didn't like it that much in my effort to compromise. I'm cooking with cheese. I'm making a peppered squash gratin. It's delicious and is probably the best make-ahead side that you can bring to someone's house. Every year I like to make a salad. Every year it's nobody's favorite. And this year, you know what? I was like, you know what I'm ready for? I'm ready for kale salad. I'm ready to bring back kale salad. If you're gonna make a salad ahead, I think kale is the best ingredient. It gets better with time. You can save it as a leftover. You can eat it the next day. It's gonna have some like honey fried walnuts. It's gonna be really good. And then we're gonna have cranberries. To me, it's very difficult to beat canned cranberries because they're perfect. But having cranberry sauce that you make yourself for the leftovers almost exclusively, I think is a real move. I'm calling these the cranberries because I think that's funny. That brings us to dessert. Even like my husband, my best friends, like they all kind of still want a pumpkin pie. Okay, Let's do it. Let's make a pumpkin pie. We're not gonna do it with a pie crust. We are gonna do it with like a cookie press-in crust. To me, this is just like a really solid pumpkin pie, but it's a pumpkin pie, is what it is.
2024?
Frick.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm done. Let's go grocery shopping, my favorite activity of all time. Okay, so I've organized it by pantry, dairy, produce, and then specialty. This isn't actually that big of a list. A lot of things you might already have. So what I would recommend doing is consulting this list and then going through your own home and deciding what it is that you have enough of already that you do not need to purchase again. I know that there's also gonna be something that I'm forgetting. I did this last night, like making the grocery list, and I was like feeling really good about it, and now I'm panicked because every time I make a grocery list, I always forget something. So make sure you build that time in for yourself too, of being like, I do need a bit of grace. I suppose this would be where you would get like snacks, which I decided not to do this year. Ooh, good aisle. Don't forget to double check things like aluminum foil, parchment paper, Ziploc bags, trash bags, paper towels, sponges, things like that, that like household supplies that you're gonna use a lot more of during this time, whether you're having that many people or not. It's just more dishes, more things, more people, more food. Just make sure you have all that stuff. Now, for your pumpkin pie, you're gonna need some more spices. These are things that people will always say, like if you've had spices in your pantry for more than 6 months, you should throw them away. I'd say like a year is probably fine for most things. I have a real bee in my bonnet about the large amount that spices are sold in. It would take me 6 calendar years to get through this much cinnamon. And that's me, a person who like recipe tests quite a bit. The average person is not ever gonna use this much cinnamon in like their lifetime. I'm sorry. It's a waste. I had called at some point and asked if they had turkey, and they said yes. So we could like illustrate, but I don't know where we are. Whenever I'm shopping for butter, and this is like across the board, whether it's Thanksgiving or not, I never spring for like the highest caliber unless I know I'm just eating it like on a radish or on toast or whatever. But I also never go for like the lowest, just because I feel like it doesn't have that much flavor, and at which point I might as well be using oil. Organic dairy will always be more expensive than regular dairy. An organic onion might not be that much more expensive than a regular onion, but dairy, I feel, is more important to buy organic than other things. I just feel that way. Dairy, meat, again, there's just like so much work and effort that goes into things that involve animals and the caring of them, the manufacturing of the product, that like doing things that are organic are more expensive for the farmer, more expensive just generally for the practice, and so they're more expensive for the customer, and I accept that. I found the turkey. Everybody relax, I found turkey. More often than not, all turkeys sold to you are frozen. I'm getting a turkey from a farm. They are still freezing the turkey because it just is a easier, better way to make sure that they can like slaughter them at the right time, keep them fresh for the customer. Like they're frozen. Just going through it, forgot what we needed. Should we make a turkey?
Turkey rub, take one.
It's actually just turkey, Graham. We're doing the whole turkey, really.
Okay.
Oh. Okay. We'll tape this up on the fridge.
It is kind of like a really cute anchor.
Right?
Yeah.
I think so. Okay. This doesn't have magnets. So we're gonna start with the turkey. I feel like this is the first thing you do because it's the star. It's the main event. It also takes the longest. It takes the longest to roast, takes the longest to season, takes the longest to defrost. Like the turkey is something that you have to think about before anything else. This is crazy in here. Every year I say that, but every year is true. Oh,
Uh-oh. Want me to help?
no.
Oh,
It's fine.
Flip or watch.
Turkey, take two.
So we're gonna do our turkey first, and that also includes making the turkey stock. So I say let's make the turkey. The thing that I'm saying is let's do everything turkey related. These baby turkey legs are still really big. I was like, how much does a baby weigh? Less than this. I am making this not at Thanksgiving time. I'm not getting the like small local heritage bird because those turkeys are still with us on the corporeal plane. Very difficult to find an out of season turkey because most people eat turkey once a year. This is on the larger side of a turkey for me personally. I think a like 12-pound bird is exactly where you want to be. This is almost 15. So for your turkey, again, I don't use a roasting pan. You will need 2 rimmed baking sheets. These are your standard sheet trays. They have a rim. These are not cookie sheets, which those are just the flat sheets that things slide off and on, and a wire rack. Again, if you are making Thanksgiving, you should have 2 sheet pans anyway. Like even if you're not making turkey wing stock, I would say invest in a second sheet pan if you only have one. And the other thing we'll need is a large pot. This is enough for 5 pounds of wings, onions, carrots, celery, garlic, bay leaf, whatever, simmered to give you enough turkey stock for your stuffing, for your gravy, and then sometimes even a little bit left over for something like pozole or chili or soup or stew the next day for your Thanksgiving leftovers. Okay, this is a regular turkey wing, really big, like supremely large. This is a baby turkey wing, but it's, again, about the size of the turkey wing on our turkey. Yeah, that's pretty wild. Okay, so for these, we're gonna drizzle with oil, salt, pepper, and then roast them at 425, 450. Turkey, despite having all this skin, they're just so lean that in order for like proper browning, they really do need quite a bit of fat. My stomach is like getting in the way as I cook now, and it's very weird. With Thanksgiving especially, I feel like I repeat myself so much, and this is now my 4th Thanksgiving. Like year 3, I was like panicked, like how am I gonna do this differently? And I'm like, you know what? Each year will be different because I'm different. My life is different every year. I'm making potatoes ahead. Anything could happen. You know what I mean? I'm making pumpkin pie. That would have never happened last year. You can't really over roast those. So, I mean, you can set a timer for like 25 minutes, check them. I'm gonna get my dry brine ready in a second, but I'm just gonna prep this. The first step you're gonna do is remove the plastic, take the giblets outside. One time I did, have I told every story about Thanksgiving 100 times? I can't imagine every person has seen every piece of Thanksgiving content I've ever done. I'm sure you exist, but like, or maybe you enjoy it. In which case, I'll tell it again. I roasted the giblets inside the turkey. It was disgusting. Don't do that. One important thing with the turkeys, go in both sides. So that was side 1. What awaits us in side 2? This is the bag I forgot. I took out the first side, but I didn't take out the second side. The liver, yeah. All right, so stock, most of the flavor is coming from your bones. Some people will even say like a pure stock is only made with the meat, but the flavor of Thanksgiving is celery to me, which is probably maybe one of my more unpopular opinions. These carrots are cute. It's a shame to put them in the stock, but they're old, so it's fine. 2 onions, some carrot, some celery, and then I'm gonna cook with some leeks later for the stuffing. And so I'll use the tops since otherwise I would discard them. Okay, our turkey, like all dry brines, this is going to be a basic mixture of sugar and salt. I use light brown sugar. I think it has more flavor. I think it gives you more color. This basic ratio is 1/3 of a cup, 1/3 of a cup. If you're making a lot more turkey, feel free to double this. This rub also is excellent on chicken, on pork chops, and your turkey won't be perceptibly sweet. Don't worry about that. I am very sensitive to sweet foods. I don't care for them. But without the sugar in this brine, you would miss it. It does kind of lack a festiveness, a richness. The color is lacking. You would miss it if it were gone. Okay, so this is your basic dry brine, right? This would be good as is. If this is all you did, great. We are gonna sort of season it with things. I'm just gonna grind the pepper to the best of my ability. I'm like out of breath grinding pepper. And then I'm gonna finely chop the fennel seed. You can crack these with a rolling pin. You can chop them with a knife. You're not looking for like a super fine powder. You are just kind of looking for them to be broken open a little bit and not whole individual seeds. Does that sound good? I'm worried this feels like too much flavor for some people for Thanksgiving, but I promise in the context of the rest of the meal, it is extremely harmonious. If you're like, I hate fennel, then you've already made up your mind and you're not gonna make this. And that's fine, I'm not talking to you. Make a different recipe. Not to be rude, just. People hate the weirdest things. I mean, I don't like things, but the things that I don't like, I think most people also don't like. Not to be like, I'm right. I don't know, like red bell pepper. I'm just gonna do these 3 cloves because these are pretty large. And then I'm gonna add some herbs. You could use all or none or one or some of these herbs. I'm gonna do sage and then I'm gonna use the other 2 sort of in and around the turkey. Sage is a pretty intensely flavored herb. It tampers the fennel, it like enhances the garlic. It's like, it's meant to be here. It reminds you that it's Thanksgiving and not just like a regular poultry rub. Okay, so sage, garlic, fennel, pepper, light brown sugar, kosher salt. Okay, this turkey will get nothing but this rub. It's going to slowly penetrate the chicken. Wow, the chicken, it's a turkey. It's gonna slowly penetrate the turkey over the next 24 hours. You can go 48 hours, even better. Anything that falls off, I'm gonna gather and then like redistribute, by the way. For me, the place that I wanna focus on the most is like the thigh. And as you roast the turkey, you are gonna baste it, and some of this flavor is going to come off in the liquid, in the basting liquid. It's like all going into the same place. And I'll just kind of like rub the bottom as well. The bottom being important because that's where the thighs are. This is like extra credit, but I'll lift it up. And this is like pretty gross. Okay. Let's check on our chicken. It's a turkey, Jesus. Let's check on our turkey wings. But just know if you're making a chicken, that's okay too. Now those are gorgeous. I'm gonna just pop them right into this pot. This will shrink down a bit, a lot actually. All that crispy turkey skin laid to waste. All right. As this heats up, all those leeks in the cellar, like everything's gonna kind of soften and the wings will submerge. Don't worry.
Hey, Alison, can I ask you a question? What is the worst Thanksgiving food?
Worst Thanksgiving food, macaroni and cheese. It's not the worst food. It's just the worst food to eat at Thanksgiving, I think.
What is the most surprising thing on the
Canned cranberry sauce. That might surprise some people.
Okay, my last question is, can you tell us a little bit about this episode's sponsor, Klaviyo?
Yes. So Klaviyo, if you're a small business or a small business owner, they're an online marketing tool that will help you reach your customers better through things like AI-powered analytics, email, SMS, stuff like that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm so boring. I like stuffing the same way every year. I recognize the fact that some people like to mix it up. They want to put something else in it. And I think if you're just doing like turkey stuffing potato, sure, like get freaky. Add sausage, add kale, add mushrooms, add smoked oysters, use cornbread, like do whatever you want. But for me, in the context of the meal, I don't like it when anything competes with something else. And I also think that the only meat should be the turkey. That said, I'm here to please. So today we'll make like one basic stuffing recipe, and then half of it will get sausage and maybe some kale, some herbs, and the other half will just be like classic basic, but the base is the same. For stuffing bread, I have really experimented with so many types of bread, and I really think that like the lighter the loaf, the better if you can find it. I think ciabatta is the best. I wasn't able to find one of those up here, or actually in Brooklyn. This is a campagna loaf. This is just kind of like a rustic peasant loaf. I think there's some whole wheat flour in here. That works too. It's not overly crusty. It's still mostly bread. And I think that that's what you want to focus on. Sometimes those miche loaves are very flat and it's a high ratio of crust to filling. And then your stuffing kind of always tastes like crust. So we're just going to tear off large pieces of bread. I may decide to fast forward through this because I've made stuffing so many times. It's hard. It's hard to do every year. Every year is tough. Next year I'll have a baby. Where will it be when I do this? I might not do Thanksgiving next year.
I think you might not do Thanksgiving.
I might not. I also have a book coming out next year, so I almost certainly won't do Thanksgiving next year. Sorry. It's okay. Sometimes I skip years. Yeah, it's weird. Someone asked me like, what are you gonna do like with the baby when you film home movies? But like, I don't know. People go back to work and they figure out who watches the baby. I don't know. I don't know. You might never see me again. We're great though. Thanks for tuning in.
Wow, that's actually crazy to think about.
I know, you better appreciate me while I'm still here, guys. All right, this is step 1 of stuffing complete. All right, we're gonna get started on our like things that you can make ahead. So my stock is already going great. My turkey's brining away in the fridge, great. I'm gonna start on the potatoes because people have to make potatoes ahead. They just simply have to. And then we'll come back and make our pumpkin pie. The crust will go in the oven. We'll finish our potatoes. We'll make the custard. Like it's like sort of a dance, right? These can be 42 types of ways. They can be roasted garlic. They can have herbs. They can have buttermilk or heavy cream. They can have butter. They can have sour cream. I just named a bunch of the same thing, which is dairy and potato, but that's true. These are less about the butter and more about the buttermilk and the sour cream. I think a potato can be luxurious, creamy, rich, while also being like tangy and light. And I also don't think you need a ricer. The inspiration in texture and flavor here is like the inside of a twice baked potato. So like really creamy, but like really tangy, lots of chives, delicious, yum yum. Innovating on mashed potatoes, I think is sort of a fool's errand. I think that like it's potatoes and it's dairy, and that's delicious. Mashed potatoes are simple by definition and by design. And I think like the more complicated we make them, the less delicious they are. I'm using a small scale and no bowl. That's dumb. I'm looking for 5 pounds of potatoes. As long as at least half are Yukon Gold, you're good. I'm using all Yukon Gold just because that's what, when I went to the market, that's what they had and they didn't have russets and that feels great to me. Now Yukon Gold will give you a potato that's like texturally denser, but also tastes creamier, if that makes sense. I weighed these yesterday so I know how much they are. I'm doing this for show. Will it stack?
Incredible.
No. Thank you. Okay, where's my peeler? Anyone? Found it, it's in the bottom of this. We found it. Settle in. Hate the ricer. Hate the masher. If I can't use you for multiple things, I won't have you. But I like to test the theory, and last year I did, and I was like, this was fine. Was it worth having this dumb piece of equipment in my house? No. I'm just cutting these into pieces that are all about the same size because when you buy potatoes, sometimes they look like this, and sometimes they look like this. So the idea is that they'll cook at the same rate. The smaller you cook your potato, the quicker they'll cook, but the higher chance that they'll be waterlogged. So I like to keep them no smaller than this. I'm gonna put quite a bit of salt here. I would say like 3 big pinches, 4. This is like real salty, like the sea moment. Just like pasta, this is your chance to season the potato. If you don't season your potatoes now, it's like, not to be like you can never go back, but like you'll have a hard time getting there, I think. It's not like pasta where you really need like enough water to make sure that the water doesn't get too starchy. You kind of just need like water to cover by like 2 to 3 inches, and then you're good. Nice, walk back. Okay, I feel good there. People ask me a lot of times like how to avoid excessive dishes for Thanksgiving, which I think is maybe one of the most daunting parts of hosting anyway, but especially for a big meal like Thanksgiving where there's like multiple dishes. If I use a bowl, rinse it out, especially if it's not dirty, like this just had potatoes in it. I just rinsed it out so I can like use it now for my cookies without scrubbing it, washing it. Like I'm not worried about like raw potato contamination in my pumpkin pie crust. You know what I mean? All right. Hello everybody, welcome. No, we're gonna do pumpkin pie now. Pumpkin pie is something that I have struggled with. It's like too squashy or too sweet or too soft or too mushy. I also don't prefer the like classic butter flaky crust with a pumpkin pie because I feel like, you know, pumpkin pie needs to be chilled. I think a all butter flaky crust is best sort of warm-ish unless you're talking leftovers. Like, I think you lose a lot of magic once that crust is chilled. But what I do think might do it some favors is doing like a spiced cookie crust. Traditionally, the recipe on the back of the Libby's and a lot of like allrecipes.com recipes use evaporated milk as like the ingredient. For whatever reason, I'm creeped out by evaporated milk. I always have been. I love sweetened condensed milk. Evaporated milk freaks me out. I don't know why. So I'm using heavy cream and eggs, sort of more classic custard texture. And I did want to make this into a tart, not a pie, but more than I wanted that, I want you to use the entire 15-ounce can of pumpkin puree. I don't believe in making your own pumpkin puree for this. I think that is laborious and completely unnecessary, and the product is not as good as the can of Libby's. Why can't I open this? They don't want me to have these cookies. For this crust, you could use graham crackers, you could use ginger snaps, you could use Nilla wafers, probably, and you could use Biscoff. Biscoff are sweeter than other cookie, so just be mindful. They're not like cloying or anything, but they're sweeter, and often you can only get them if you're flying Delta. But ginger snaps, these are sort of like a fancy ginger snap, but whatever. Cute. I'm obsessed with these cookies. Did you come over for one?
Thank you.
You're welcome. They're so good.
Yeah.
You do need a food processor for this if you want to grind these cookies. You can also crush them in a Ziploc bag with a rolling pin. Oh, okay. I'm gonna say 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, about a teaspoon of kosher salt, and 6 tablespoons of melted butter. Oh, one thing I didn't do last time, I didn't spray my pie plate because I was like, oh, there's butter on the crust. I don't need to. You do need to, and I forget that every time. So spray your pie plate. It smells so good. Ginger snaps are a great cookie. The edge and the top will always kind of be crumbly, but making sure that it is like compacted in there goes a long way. It's just a more enjoyable experience to have the crust be something you want to eat anyway, i.e. a pile of cookies. 15. Okay, let's check our potatoes. Can it be sliced easily? Yes. Can it be smashed easily? Yes. That's the test. This is the sheet pan that we use to roast our chicken wings, our turkey wings. I'm gonna let these cool for a sec. You don't wanna wait too much time between when you've cooked your potatoes and when you crush and mash. You wanna add hot potatoes to hot dairy. That is gonna prevent you from over mixing, which gives you like that gluey texture that you do not want. All right, the sour cream for the sour cream and chive potato comes on the reheat. This is like your basic base recipe for mashed potatoes. I think that whether you're making them today for today, or today for tomorrow, or today for 2 days from now, this is as far as I would take them until you're ready to serve. This is just gonna be your potatoes, your salt, your heavy cream, your buttermilk, and a little bit of butter. Buttermilk does not have any fat. It says low fat, but it's pretty much non-fat. So to compensate, we're gonna use heavy cream. So heavy cream is giving you fat, buttermilk is giving you tang. Everybody wins. This you do wanna season with salt and pepper. You could add some crushed garlic, you could add a sprig of rosemary, some thyme, some sage. You could like steep this cream with flavor. I'm keeping it like pretty much focused on the chive and the sour cream. My unwashed pot.
They will be hot in your unwashed pot.
In your unwashed pot, these potatoes are hot. Beautiful, gorgeous. They should just kind of fall apart. I am a fan of the lump in my potato. It reminds me that it was once a potato. It says, I was a potato, I'm still a potato. All right, dairy is hot, potatoes are hot. There's no butter in this, that's why I'm gonna add a knob after. Okay, keep in mind, tomorrow when you reheat, you're adding more dairy and you're adding more sour cream and you're adding a lot of stuff. But the seasoning should like more or less be what you want in terms of salt, because you can always adjust later. But there's no use in letting your potatoes sit under seasoned overnight in the fridge alone. in the cold. These don't even have sour cream or butter or chives in them, but they will, and they'll just like continue to get more and more delicious. But right now, they're awesome. There you go. Potatoes made ahead. Just one less thing you have to do tomorrow, except you're still reheating them and doing a lot of work.
All right, so let's keep rolling.
All right, back to this pumpkin pie. The thing about pumpkin pie is that as long as you have cinnamon, I think you're good. 1 15-ounce can, pumpkin puree. Brown sugar is there because I think it gives you a lot more flavor than the granulated. And the granulated is there because I think all brown sugar is almost too much flavor. So it's there to balance one another. Granulated, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, ground. Doing about a tablespoon of freshly grated ginger. And I like nutmeg. I only use nutmeg like maybe twice a year. I love it in my cream spinach, and I like it when I bake. A little bit goes a long way, which is why it's sold by like the nugget.
Isn't it like famously, like doesn't it pair like beautifully with asparagus? Isn't that?
What?
Yeah, what's the spice that they say like activates the flavor in asparagus? I think it's a nutmeg.
What?
Yeah.
I've never heard that.
Oh, really? Damn.
It says no results when you type in nutmeg.
Yeah, literally, like, what? All right, I'm whisking this together. This is the squash, sugar, cinnamon, nutmeg, salt, and pepper.
And asparagus?
And there's asparagus in here, yeah. All right, I'm gonna add the eggs. You do need the eggs and the cream for texture, but it's mostly like sweetened, spiced pumpkin. I'm pouring.
Cool.
I'm reducing the temperature of the oven to 325, and I'm gonna put it in there for probably about 45 minutes. I'm gonna check it after 30, but you want this to bake low and slow. If you bake it hot and fast, it'll souffle, it might crack, it might rise, it might fall, it might bake unevenly, it might bake hard around the center, custardy raw in the middle. Cool. Okay, cranberries. Again, I love canned cranberries, and I'll probably serve them tomorrow. I like cranberries from a can, almost as like relishy salad with like citrus and onion. And I like the cranberries that are either fresh or frozen, cooked with sugar or honey and some orange juice as like a sauce. Spoonable, good for sandwiches, good for dipping and like just like a little bit. The other one's like jelly. Not everyone's gonna wanna make their own cranberry sauce. That's fine. It's so easy that it's sort of like, why wouldn't you? I start with half. You can eyeball it, don't weigh it. And frozen cranberries are awesome. You do not need to use fresh. In terms of sweetener, you could use regular granulated sugar. You could also use honey. I like to use honey because I like the texture that it gives. Sometimes I'll use a mix of both if I'm feeling saucy. And a 1/4 cup of granulated sugar, which is about 2 ounces. It's a very peaceful Thanksgiving. And that's what happens when you tell people not to come. So I'm gonna get that simmering. If you wanna add ginger to your cranberries, you should. If you wanna add the unwaxed rind of a citrus, you should. If you wanna throw a cinnamon stick in there, a star anise, a single clove, you can do all sorts of stuff. Thanksgiving, there's so much on your plate that like the single clove or like even the nuance is lost. And it feels like a lot of work, a lot of ingredients, a lot of effort for like when you're effectively like, it doesn't matter. I think it's like know when to expend the effort, you know? Ooh, our cranberries are boiling. They're like orange and yellow and red and pink. I didn't add anything other than a little juice and some cranberry. I'm gonna now add these and I'm just gonna cook them right till they pop. So you get like a variety of texture. You get like the juiciness, you get the semi-popped, you get the really popped. It's like a symphony of many balls of sand. All right, these are good. See how they've like split? They'll continue to like give off their juice as they sit. But I don't need to cook them any further. I don't need to like evaporate them any further. But I really love how they look too, where it's like big, ripe, beautiful, fresh orbs amongst the like deep ruby, like more compote-y cooked down version of cranberry. Better than plastic. And you can reuse them. It looks so silly though.
Lid?
It's like a little, it's giving Super Mario.
Yeah.
All right. You know, the reason that my husband and I met is because his sister watched home movies. She's like, oh, we're having an Alison Roman Thanksgiving. And he's like, who's that? Because he doesn't cook. And she's like, oh, it's this person. And like showed him my videos. And he's like, I want to meet that lady. I like her. And guess what? He married me. That's crazy. Anyway, marriage is great. I love being married to my fan husband. Now it's time for green bean casserole. Normally a green bean casserole calls for a can of mushroom soup, which is like your thickener, your dairy, your mushrooms all in one. It's not for me. So I'm choosing to do it from scratch, which also allows me to control the creaminess. It's just gonna be a little bit more customizable. Not that much more work. To take these off, I think the best way to do it is to just grab a handful, line them up, tail, keep it on. Stem, I snap off. This is certainly not faster than taking a knife, but I think you waste less green bean this way. Can't really have green bean casserole without mushrooms. And what kind of mushroom you use is totally up to you. I like to use a mix of like a fancier mushroom because they taste great. I love their texture. I like the shape of them. I like how they feel like in the sauce, like underneath the onions. Just gonna use one medium onion.
Do you have a trick for onion slicing not getting in your eyes?
Contacts. It's the only thing that works. Or contact lenses. Let's call it 2 to 3 tablespoons. You want like a nice layer. Yeah, awooga. Oh, he's so, look at his butt. It's all my personality is completely gone, and now all I do is think about my cat. It is important that you get as much color in here as possible, and it's really important that, especially if you're using like all cremini or button mushroom, that you cook as much water out of them as possible. A lot of the flavor in this casserole is going to depend on the brown of the mushrooms and the onions here. Don't dismiss this as like, oh, green bean casserole. Like, this is a real beautiful celebration of mushrooms and green beans and French's crispy fried onions in a can. I don't mind that some of the mushrooms have like torn apart. There's like almost like a mix of like large chunky pieces and like sort of like mushroom pasty bits, and like the onions have become really jammy. Their natural sugars have started like deeply caramelizing. I'm adding the green beans. We're not looking for any color here. We're just looking for them to be like not raw anymore. Way more tender. Still have a little bit of bite. That's fine. All right, 2 tablespoons of butter and then 2 tablespoons of flour. You can get some vegetables in there. It's like, all right. So I'm gonna add this to this. You do kind of want to go a little slower. When I dump this into here, this skillet will have no brown bits on the bottom because I've like scraped them all up by doing this a little bit at a time. It also needs soy sauce. That is in the original green bean casserole recipe on the back of the Campbell's soup can. So I'm gonna add 2 tablespoons of this. This is gonna go in our baking dish. Is it too big? Might be too big. There might be too little green bean casserole. I think I just have to go smaller. Now we're gonna make our gravy. I find the best way to strain stock is to do it carefully and slowly and with as many utensils as you need to feel safe. And letting it settle. All right, and then I'm just going to carefully and delicately strain it. Color is good, huh? It is so much better to be pregnant and say I'm pregnant than to be pregnant and be so sick and like not telling anyone you're pregnant and being like, seafood pasta, yummy. That was so tough. That was so tough. Gravy, you can make it in advance. Guess what? Surprise, it's fantastic. You are still gonna use the turkey drippings, but all you need for this is a pot and a whisk and a dream and a good attitude. So gravy is fat and flour thickened together, a roux, and thinned with a liquid. And that liquid could be milk, it could be water, it could be broth. In the classic Thanksgiving tradition, it's broth, and it's also the drippings from the turkey. I'm gonna use the good butter for this. 6 tablespoons, half a cup of all-purpose flour. We are gonna take this to a nice color. We are not browning the butter, but we are gonna brown the roux. A lot of the flavor that we're gonna develop is gonna happen now as we like toast the flour in the butter. You don't wanna rush this. You don't wanna like, you know. Smells really good though, I gotta say. Okay, so now we're in like latte territory. We're gonna go to like cappuccino. Milky coffee. I feel confident, I'm gonna stop. And by stop, I mean, this is now when I'm gonna add the liquid. Oh no, see, too slow. This gravy will also always be more pale than a gravy made with turkey drippings until you add the drippings. See how like it's very thick, and it's gonna be thick and it's gonna continue to be thick. This will be a solid mass tomorrow, by the way. Like when we take it out of the fridge, it's gonna be like a Jell-O blob because there's flour, because there's butter, and because there's very, very gelatin-rich stock. So the whole thing is gonna be set up to sort of solidify once chilled. So don't panic, don't freak out. So we'll add 2 tablespoons of soy sauce to this. And 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. The soy sauce is there mostly for color and for saltiness. You'll get a lot of color from the drippings tomorrow, and the vinegar is there for acidity. So I added 2.5 cups of stock to this for tonight. Gravy is a complex food item and really benefits from time. So either simmering or resting in the fridge or whatever. So we're gonna do both. Great, okay. It's the end of day 1. We did a lot today. We dry brined the turkey, just have to roast it. Sour cream and chive potatoes, kind of just did those. Perfect stuffing we'll make tomorrow. Green bean casserole, done. Pretty much, we can cross that off. I can cross off the potatoes too. I can cross off the gravy as well. Peppered squash gratin we'll make tomorrow. Cranberries, done. Pumpkin pie, done. So tomorrow we're looking very good. I feel like that is such a manageable day. I'm sure someone's watching being like, I always do Thanksgiving this way. Like I always make everything ahead. Well, I don't. And this is new for me. And this feels like personal growth or regression or a new adventure or just trying something different. And I applaud myself for that. And for anyone who also is trying to have a more mellow Thanksgiving this year where you do more the day before and less the day of, I feel like we've achieved that already. Talk to me tomorrow, but I feel good. I feel like we're good. All right?